And we're live. Welcome to you, the viewer. Welcome to our fantastic panel here on the side. It's the After Dram, and that means it's time to unwind. So put your feet up, grab a dram or a cocktail, or in my case, a beer with a dram or two, and relax. Enjoy yourselves. It's going to be a lot of fun here in a couple seconds. But as a quick recap to our early afternoon, Dave, Jason, who left us, Kent, Nick, and I have done a deep dive into 3 final chapters from Japan. This one right here. Let's do it. Whisky Japan, the essential guide to the world's most exotic whiskey. I forgot to promote it up here. That's where I want it, right there. It was sad because it was our final whiskey book club with Dom, but it was equally fun, entertaining, educational.
That's silly.
It was a little bit silly, but that's the way we like things a little bit. So let's have another round of introductions and a little bit of what's in your glass now. And Dom, let's start with you again, kind sir, the guest of honor.
Hi, yeah. My book I'm reading is Squash Possums, Off the Beaten Track in New Zealand. I picked it now because I love the idea of squashing possums. I'll explain that to you if you want me to when we get to the point. And also, the New Zealand's known for its sporting prowess, and especially its rugby. But this week they won the America's Cup. Every Canadian should be pleased about that. It's the oldest sporting event in the world, the oldest sporting trophy in the world. And it's a sailing event. And the way it works is, for those who don't know, is that all the challengers compete with each other, sailing, and then one gets chosen to go and compete with the hosts, the champions.
Right.
And New Zealand were the champions, so it was done off the coast of Auckland this year. You get to do it in your home territory if you win. So all the other boats competed in February and March, and eventually they ended up with an Italian crew who this week competed for the America's Cup, and New Zealand won it. So I'm a proud New Zealander. I've got New Zealand citizenship, very proud of it. And so I thought I'd use the excuse of putting a book up in the front to speak about sailing.
Well,
Clever,
part of the Commonwealth, good job. And I did need you to do the squashing possums and relate that back to whiskey, but let's forget it.
We can do this, but we'll do it later in the talk. I'm drinking cider. I've finished my English whiskey. I'm now drinking cider, which is a safe option. I've got a big day tomorrow. I've got to be up with the dog probably at 5:30 in the morning, and then big sports day, huge sports day with Leicester playing the FA Cup against Manchester United. So that's me.
Excellent. Very good. And here comes Dave. He's got a question for you right away off the bat. But well, Dave, let's have the introductions and what's in your glass, buddy.
All right, guys. I shouldn't say guys. Everybody at Yukon Dave coming from his basement as always. I'm drinking the Miyagi-Ko single malt from Nika. But my question for Dom is, how did Mother's Day go last week?
Because you were on with us and we were wondering.
Oh, okay. Well, it's very hard to fault me. I see the whole year as a racetrack. We're in the jump season here at the moment. We're at Goodwood at the moment, and then it's the Aintree Festival next week. My year is a racetrack with hurdles. Mother's Day, wedding anniversary, and if you get over the fences without getting knocked off, then birthday, wife's birthday. Anyway, all I know is I got neutral last week, so I've done really well. So I got a dedicated. So I sent off. I had the foresight to send off for a dedicated card online. So I had a card that had my wife's name on it. And what did I buy? Oh, I tell you what I bought her. I bought her, instead of buying, token jewelry or something like that, or a bottle of Prosecco, I bought her this bamboo tray that you put on the bath in front of you, and it has a place for a wine glass, and it has a place for a candle, and it has a place for a Kindle, and a place for your book. So you can get in your bath and have all the luxuries in front of you on a tray, like a bit on a plane, but made of bamboo.
My wife was pretty impressed because I could hear her in the background. I don't know if you can, but it's when you got the personalized card, that was the most impressive to my wife. So I'm wondering if that was for yours.
Yeah, I've got too much time on my hands, so I've been able to do this sort of thing. But the way I see it is, I bought fish and chips on Saturday night, which for the family, which is her favorite. We had them delivered, so she just got fish and chips delivered. Yeah, it went okay. Yeah, but she goes to see her mother. Unfortunately, her father died last year, but it's always been a case that Mother's Day was about her mother. I used to joke with saying, "I'm not doing anything because you're not my mother."
Yeah, that's a bad line.
That's a really bad line. That's really bad line. So, so basically, I still got to see my sport.
Nice. Perfect.
Hear my card story?
Nope. We're going to go to Kent first because everyone still has to be introduced. Go ahead, Kent. You're up.
Hi, my name's Kent. I go by Whiskey Ass on all platforms. We're having a rough day today. It was a long night last night around the fire with some good friends, but we did bottle kill this bad boy. So
all done.
There's a
well done. Another man down.
Yeah.
Nick.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick. I go by Black Cat Whiskey on all social media, and I am nursing this last little bit of my sample of Curran Fiji Sanaruko. So that's what's in the glass.
Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you very much. And what do I have? I have, and I'm sorry, I'm going for a beer. I want, and this Edmonton.
Nice.
So Irish Red Ale from Sea Change, which is great. And I'm still nursing, well, not nursing, because I poured another one of these for myself because I like it quite a bit. So I'm enjoying myself. Thank you very much. A little plug for us. We're doing our Japanese whiskey tasting tonight as well. So I had to stop myself from breaking into some of those that we're going to have at 7 o'clock. But I did very, very well. And I did want to bring this up because I said I would show this. This was the English Whiskey Company, and there's my thing. And that it's chapter 6 and chapter 9. And chapter 9, I lied to you, Dom. I said I thought 7 was peated. The chapter 9's peated. And the chapter 6...
you didn't. No, you didn't. Dolph.
Didn't I?
No, I said I thought chapter 6 was peated and chapter 7 was rum cask.
I don't have 7.
What you've got there is chapter 6 is the bourbon cask unpeated, and chapter 9 is the peated.
Perfect.
And
I'm really happy to have them. Although I'm really sad that I don't want to say it's sad that they rebranded, but it's sad that they didn't make it work properly, because when you have something like that, and Yukon Dave does the same thing with 2 brewers, they have 1, 2, 3, they're up to 24. You always know where you are in the spectrum. So if you're up to 9, but if, like you said, they went back, that would have been.
But were these released 9 or released single cast 9? Because that's different. The thing that the English Whiskey Company did was they started doing this episode thing from very young age, but their standard unpeated whiskies was chapter 6, and their standard peated whiskey was chapter 9. Where's chapter 8? It's a bourbon cask. Where's chapter 7? It's a rum cask. So it didn't work because they wanted to also do rum cask. They'd have to redo chapter 7 when they've done a load of. It just wasn't thought through properly for me.
But they changed.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. The chapter 6, if they were still doing chapter 6 today, it would be a far better whiskey than chapter 6 from 7 years ago.
Probably. But maybe they should have went 6, 16, 26. I don't know.
You're not right, but I just think there's a simpler way to do it.
Yeah.
If they called it Dragon, because it's St. George and the Dragon, If they called their unpeated one Dragon, or called the peated one Dragon and the unpeated one St. George, they could just reinvent St. George down the line. It wouldn't matter.
I agree.
Anyway, not for me to say I'm not running their business. I was crap at running my business. They're making a lot of money, so who am I to criticize them for that? But when it comes to the whiskey, good. Yeah.
It's lovely stuff. Well, I'll look for the new one. Sorry, Dave, we cut you off before because I wanted to keep going. What was your question, buddy?
Oh, it wasn't a question. It was a comment about Dom talked about cards for occasions for loved ones.
Yeah.
And I kind of fouled something up was it Valentine's Day? I think.
Yep.
Gee, I wake up in the morning. I didn't get any flowers, so I sneak out of bed and I go over to the co-op and I get some flowers, and there's a card there and it has a whiskey bottle on it. And oh, this is cool. And I take the whiskey bottle card and the flowers and give it to Brenda, and she goes, "Did you read this card?" I opened it up and it says "Happy Birthday" inside. I said, "Oh, Jesus."
Dave.
Well,
you know what? I've got a story that I don't want to put it online of my wife getting me a card at one point, and she just looked at the front of it, and then what it said on the inside. I started reciting this in front of her family, like everyone there, and she said, "You're lying. I didn't say that." And it's like, no, there it is. I think I kept this card because it was a very submissive card, and my wife's. It was funny. It's funny, but you should always read the inside of the card, Dave.
Well, I did. I read the first half. It says you're getting better, like Scotch. I think, okay, well, this is cool, but I didn't read the last part. So her birthday was Tuesday, and I said,
and you got her a Valentine's Day card.
Here's the flowers, and she goes, "This is the same card." I said, "No, it's not. I actually screwed up the first card, and I misspelled the word second time around, so I threw that away." And this time the card actually worked.
Oh, perfect, Dave.
The worst thing I've ever done is written something on my wife's card, like, have a great day.
Done.
You don't look any older. And then signed it with my autograph. I do book signings. So it says, "All the best, Dom Roskrow." She goes, I know which. It's my same surname, Whoa! But it.
You're so used to it. You're signing the autograph.
Yeah.
All my love. Well, yeah.
Because sometimes you sit at shows, you do 20 or 30, and I'd like to. It's funny because I was with Ingvar Ronda, who does the whiskey malt book, the malt whiskey yearbook, which is great product. But he makes a joke every time he signs a book. We sat doing book signings together, and it's a competition. Who's going to come up with the more books? His book's a lot cheaper than mine, so I always say I get two points for every book compared to it. Anyway, he has some joke about Star Trek. It's whiskey gin, but not as we know it, or something. I have 5 different expressions because I don't want everyone to think they've just got the same mass produced. So if we were doing it now, each of you would have a private message. Because my theory is that nobody is going to know anybody who's got the same one as me because it's random. But you go into, so my mind's going, thank you very much for buying my book. I hope you find your perfect whiskey, Dom Roskrow. Date. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I did it on my wife's card.
Jeez.
Have a great birthday. All the best, Dominic Roskrow, and the date.
And the date. Just in case you forgot your birthday.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I dated it because it really happens on your birthday.
No.
Dom, I have a question because you were talking about the English company and the labeling and changing it. The labeling on Japanese whiskey bottles are fantastic. Like they're beautiful. They're colorful. Do you know any of the reason why they're so much prettier than our Scotch whiskey or our other whiskey bottles? Because there's just such a eye-catching element to them.
Yeah, I do.
And I'm not telling you.
Yeah, next question. The answer is yes. No, sorry. The thing is that I honestly believe this. I'm working with a Swiss company at the moment, and he wants to go down the traditional route, and he wants to work with people who are very close to Scotland. And my view on that is that's fine. Scotland does what it does, but we shouldn't copy it. We should do our own thing. And if you look at the traditional labeling whiskey, you imagine walking into a bar or a store, and there's a male, and it will be a male in front of you, and you say, I want a whiskey, especially you because you're a woman, so it's even tougher for you. And he's standing there staring at you, and behind him is everything you want to look at. He goes, what do you want? You haven't got the opportunity to shop through his bar. And even if you know about whiskey, it makes it very, very difficult. But if you don't know a lot about whiskey, it makes it bloody intimidating. That's how labels of Scotch whiskey were 20 years ago. They were just basically in a font, full of information, very small, very difficult to read from a distance. And they assumed you knew what Ardbeg meant. There's no explanation. You've got to recognize the Ardbeg logo or the Lagavulin or the Lefroy or Macallan, whatever, and then understand what that label's saying to you within 20 seconds. Nobody can do that. Well, most extreme experts probably can, but I think it's hard for what
we recognize that with the Bruichladdich right away. Yeah.
Right.
But
So
that's a 20-year-old style of label, even though this came out a couple of years ago.
absolutely. And you know what? It's an obstacle to make it an open drink. It basically makes it a male drink, an aged male drink, a white aged male drink, a middle class to upper class aged white male drink, and on we go. I think that not just the Japanese, but I think lots of cultures have thrown out that baggage. I just think they've thrown it away. And I think Japanese have brought their own. And this is what we were talking about in the first part of this thing tonight. That I think that the Japanese are now saying, hang on a second, we proved we can make the whiskey.
Yep.
But it's our time to. So we need our product to be our product. We need it to be purely Japanese. But we can bring our art, our culture, our sophistication. And it's not just whiskey. If you go on any Japanese it's just, when I was in Taiwan, they took me to a museum, which was mainly Chinese art. They were when we were fighting with spears and great hammers, smashing each other as ogres, they were carving ivory. Their culture is so far more advanced than us. And their art is so delicate, very feminine, and very, very sophisticated. I just think they've said, do you know what? This is what we do. We'll put the best whiskey in a bottle, but we're going to put it in bottles that represent what Japan is. I think we're moving into a really interesting era because this is real. Do you mind me saying this, Dolph? Because I'm going to make a little bit.
Say whatever you want, Dom.
Okay. My view is that we're in danger. The British have just allowed an increase in nuclear weapons. We're about to enter a new arms race. And the male aggressive side of that is China and Russia and our Tory government and even Joe Biden, who's trying to show America that he can be like Trump, but nice. All of that is where we're going in the arms race. And it's all very male. And it's all very aggressive. But what the other side of that is that all this culture that's sophisticated and female and pleasant. And we talked about it in the first half. I don't think Japan really can compete with China, Russia, or United States on a world platform. But what they can do is create products that the world embraces, that are delicate and sophisticated and artistic. And I actually think you look at a Japanese whiskey bottle and you immediately feel, and it's amazing because my mother would tell you that Japanese, she was in the Second World War, Japanese were the opposite. They're the most aggressive, male, vicious culture, or at least we betrayed them as such.
Yeah.
And in reality, how delicate, and some of their whiskies are so floral and nuanced. And you mentioned Mizunara oak earlier. That brings a delicate, like incense spice to the whiskey. So we have to hope as, to hope as, I think we have to hope as liberal or peace-thinking individuals that it's that culture dominated by women and male attitudes that have more in common with gay people than they do with heterosexual people, i.e. delicate and nuanced. We have to hope that the green view, the environmental view, conquers the aggressive males who are fighting in to control Russia, China, the UK, USA.
Right now.
I think.
I'm gonna go get a couple bottles too, because I have a couple that kind of fit that description. I'd like to do it, but while I'm doing this,
have I just forced you to drink?
Oh, I'm drinking everything, and I don't need very much prompting, Dom, as my friends here know.
I've had a few drinks. Please tell me to shut up if I start getting into areas that you really don't need me, because it's my last chance to talk to Edmonton.
You can say whatever you want. I told you that.
I just don't want everyone to go off and say, what a tosser. or
yeah, there you go. Stop it. I'm stopping that, Dom. You get away. You go up. What I want to ask my whole group, because we started this at the end of the Whiskey Book Club. What's most important to you? The unique experience of having a really old whiskey, the possibility of repeated experience, getting a whiskey that you can have again, because you referred to that, Dom, or the social aspect in drinking and just being with people no matter what. So unique, something that we could repeat, or having the social, and it doesn't matter who's there. And I'm going to go get those whiskeys as whoever wants to actually respond to that.
Why don't we go around the screen, and I'll take a Dave, your view first.
Okay. I've traveled so much with work that I always love having a unique experience and coming home with a story to tell to my friends. And sometimes I think I'm just full of BS, but all these things actually happen to me at different points in time. So unique for sure, but the social part of it is, I think, is really important. That I'm out with somebody and yeah. I was in a bar in San Francisco and I told my friends, I got to go pee. If I'm not back within about an hour, come and get me. And they showed up, and we're sitting there, and this large African American came up and put his arm around me. I looked at my friends, and they looked off into space like, no, we don't know you anymore. And I, well, I'll go with it. And man, we had the best time ever. The guy gave us CDs. He was a local singer. It was, man, what an experience that was. But I was drinking bourbon for the first time ever in San Francisco. And so,
did he answer the question? Is it the whiskey or is it the people around you?
No, Dolph, we're fine.
It was.
We're fine. Leave it alone. All right, we're good. As we keep talking, I'm just going to show the beauty of the whiskey. Why don't you go to Nick? There, Dom. Ask Nick what she thinks.
Nick, what do you think?
You know what? For me, it's a bit of the two. It is that unique experience, but it's also that social aspect. I've been to events where you've got great whiskey, but if you don't have that social interaction with the people at the table with you or at the bar, I find for myself that the whiskey is a little diminished. That experience, that enjoyment is a little lost. But having that unique experience and going, wow, I've got, like as Dave says, I've got a tale, I've got a story, I've got a memory, and it's cherishable.
Good answer.
Good
answer.
Whiskey ASS. Whiskey ass. So I'm joking. Carry on.
It's all good. Definitely the experience. Well, I have a decent selection of whiskeys around here. We've had some really amazing whiskeys. We've had some cheap whiskeys that just are incredibly good, but there's nobody to share them with. They're not worth anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Oh,
All right. Oh, you're asking me? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't usually
I'm just
get
taking over the show.
I'm so happy to answer a question. You know,
I'm loving this.
Dom's taking over your show, doll.
whatever it takes. You know what? It is both, because you do want to have good whiskey. But I've had bad whiskey with good people and enjoyed it. But I've had good whiskey with bad people and not enjoyed it. So I'm going to say the social experience is most important to me. But if I'm going to make the decision, people will come around me and we'll have good whiskey and we'll talk about it and we'll enjoy it. It won't just be discussion about us. It'll be discussion about the whiskey and something good about it as well, which I like. So, Dom, how about you? You've had fantastic whiskey. You've had shit as well. And can you say that your best nights that you've had has been around, it doesn't matter what type of whiskey, it depends on the people? Or does it depend on the whiskey as well?
Yeah, it's kind of tough, because it's a tough question for me, because the truth is that I have been given lots of whiskey that most people don't get, and therefore it's not fair to diminish that. I really admire all the people who've made the whiskies that I've tasted, and it's been great. But I'm 100% in the camp of the experience and the people. You know, I just think that it's a drink. You know, if you say to me, "I'm going to give you a 53-year-old single malt whiskey, and there's only one bottle left, and you're allowed a sample of it," you can't tell me the incremental value to me of sipping that is greater than discovering or tasting 20 or 30 whiskies that are far younger, but they're new, and the people who make them are exciting, and you spent an evening in their country, and they put you in a hotel, and you go and have a few drinks with them, then you have dinner, then you go to a bar, and you end up laughing and laughing because you've met somebody from a country you've never been to, but you realize that you have everything in common with. That is a far greater experience, and certainly not drinking on your own. You know, often I taste old whiskey, and I just think it tastes like, you know, I got a sample recently, and it's 30 years old, and it's very nice if you enjoy that particular style of whiskey. But would I swap it if you told me it was £8,000 a bottle for 16 bottles of £50 whiskey? You're kidding me. I'd much rather have the younger whiskey because the incremental value. And then you do that. You share it with friends. And you laugh. And, you know, it's funny. My brother-in-law, my wife's brother, him and I didn't get on. He just saw me as a middle-class Englishman. And he was a rural Norfolk guy and a very bright guy. He's a lawyer. Solicitor. Sorry, he's a chief accountant. I'll get there eventually.
Okay.
But we didn't really have a lot in common until one afternoon I brought a bottle of Old Pulteney, 12-year-old.
Okay.
And Dave Broom used to say, it's changed, but Dave Broom used to say it's a sort of whiskey you throw away the cap, because once you start drinking it, you finish it. And it was a summer afternoon, and him and me and his brother-in-law, but not mine, we had our children playing, and they're all very happy. We'd had a barbecue. It was all great. We opened a bottle of it, and we finished the bottle. And
3
it was
people per bottle is pretty good.
Yeah. But it was one of the happiest memories because I bonded with him,
Okay.
and we've been family ever since. So that's much more important than an expensive whiskey that nobody can try, or you can try with two people. Nah, not interested.
All right. And you remember the whiskey, which is kind of my thing. I generally remember the whiskey with the really great events. I do. So, and then there's nothing wrong with an old Pulteney 12. It's a lovely whiskey. It's great. I love the feel. So, thank you very much. It's good. I like that. I'm going to quote. I don't usually put quotes on here, but I got to put this quote right here. You ready?
Your limit in yet?
Yeah, I don't have a whole bunch of time with you left. So right here is my quote. Since then, Japanese whiskey in general has become the enigmatic superstar in the whiskey firmament. Whiskey's answer to the legendary rock musician Prince. Not all of it's great, but when it is, it's superb. So, Dom, I need you to expand on Japanese whiskey equals Prince, please. Why Prince? Why Prince? I thought you were kind of a hard metal rock kind of guy, and then you're bringing me to Prince. I like Prince, but he's not a hard rock kind of guy. So
no, but actually, what I listen to most of all is Americana.
Okay.
And alternative modern country, if you like. I've got an incredibly eclectic palette, just like I have with whiskey. I was a music journalist, so and I remember when I was at Sheffield Star, I got this double album, the old vinyl double album, Sign of the Times by Prince.
Okay.
And blew my mind. It just blew. I just had never realized. And the biggest regret in my life is I never saw Prince live. I actually had tickets for him, and if you bought the tickets, you got the album free, because albums are virtually worth nothing now. So all the money is in merchandising and concerts. So
T-shirt.
Basically, if you bought a Prince ticket, you got the album free. And the last one before he died, and I didn't go. And people talk about seeing him on these funny late night shows. I'm very eclectic when it comes to music, but to go back to the question, if you read my book, The World's Best Whiskies, I was a music journalist for years. Mm-hmm. So I compare a lot of whiskey to rock music. I've talked about Lagavulin, Lafroig, and Ardbeg as the heavy metal trio of peated whiskies, Metallica, Maiden, and Motorhead.
Okay.
And they all make sense.
ACDC, that was my guess. I'm off.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But I've talked about Bo Moore being Bon Jovi, kind of Pete Light, metal light, that's okay. But I've always done that. And so you asked me the question why I particularly chose Prince. No idea. Okay. It just summarizes the fact that I listened to so much dance shit by Prince that and then he'd suddenly do, and anybody saw him live tells me he's the best lead rock guitarist in the world. He's apparently awesome rock guitarist. So, really? To me, that summarizes what I was talking about. This whiskey, it's when it's at its best, it's eclectic, it's funky, it's unusual.
Okay.
But there's an awful lot of dross too. I couldn't think of a better analogy. It's not. That's as far as it goes. That's what came to my mind. And I write on my creativity. That came out of my slightly mad brain. And when I was thinking, how would you describe Japanese whiskey generally? Somebody said in my head, I would say it's Alice Cooper. Somebody said in my head, well, Prince fits the bill, doesn't he? Beck does. Beck's another one. Beck would probably fill the bill. But Prince is more famous and better known and easier to,
Well, one of the other things with Prince, too, is he wrote so much music for other artists. I remember seeing a documentary, and I think at that time it was something like 125 artists had singles on the charts because of what he wrote for them. The Bangles, Walk Like Egyptian is, the top against my one-hit wonder. It was his writing, and they just got famous off of it. So he
Oh,
wrote
yeah, and
so
the
many
best,
different genres, right?
the best one for me is that when I was in New Zealand,
Mm.
and I was there for 4 years, I had a very deep relationship with a woman in the music industry, and the song I most related to was "Nothing Compares to You" by Sinead O'Connor, written by Prince.
Oh, I
Yep.
didn't know that was written by Prince. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Good.
he has a version of it. If you put Prince, "Nothing Compares to You," you'll get his version of it, and it's typically Prince. Actually, it's very soulful. Her version is very emotive. I have a great Sinead O'Connor story. She's one of my heroes.
Go ahead.
And I wish, can I? Have I got time?
Yes, please. I'll just keep drinking my whiskey and listening to you.
So Jameson always put on the best parties in the world. You know, when Jameson doing events, they don't do it by halves. So one year they released a pot still whiskey, and they had the Dubliners, who are top Irish. Hey, top Irish band, Dubliners. I don't know if you know them, but they're quite traditional Irish.
Okay.
But when I was taken ill, I actually couldn't go and see them. I had to stay in the hotel. I just knew I was so ill that I couldn't go and risk drinking alcohol and going for a late night out. But I stayed in the hotel and everyone left. And I had a Jameson while the sun set, thinking, Dom, what's happened to you, you know? But the Dubliners were their guests of honor. But there was another year when they got Sinead O'Connor to appear in a private gig for Irish distillers.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan. So they put me on her table.
Oh.
And the concert she did, she played Nothing Compares to You, but she stopped playing for many, many years. She's very country, Sinead O'Connor. If you love Sinead O'Connor, you got to put the fact she's more crazy than I am. She's got bipolar disorder. She's a real mess. She's gone all over the place. If you look her career up, but I just kind of relate to her in many ways. It's the mad Irish thing, I think. I don't know. Anyway, she was on my table, and I got and a concert played all the hits. But before that, we were at dinner, and she had a security guard next to her, and she's about 2 foot high. She's tiny. She's an elf.
Really? Okay.
Maybe she's about 5 foot. I mean, I dwarfed her, and I'm 5'8". So, anyway, she sat opposite me, and I just, when you meet your ultimate idol, sometimes you can't even speak. And I didn't know what to say to her. But anyway, eventually, I said, Sinead, can I ask you a question? And she's a real bitch. She can absolutely floor anybody like that. She's really hardcore. And I said, you know, you're meant to be, this is my one question, not what's your favorite song, Sinead, or who's your favorite band outside Ireland? No. Dominic comes up with first question. And if you're a journalist, it's like heating a kettle. You warm the water through until it gets to boiling point where you ask the hardest questions. You don't go from 0 to 100. But I had one question, so I did. And I said, Sinead, I'm a huge fan, but Shane McGowan is meant to be your friend. And when he had a heroin addiction, you shocked him to the police. Why would you do that?
My God. It's like from this to this.
I know. That's a dinner time conversation at 9 o'clock at night before she's about to go on stage. And she's insecure and violent with journalists anyway. Okay. And she looked at me and I saw it in her eyes. What I saw in her eyes were everything every male wants to see Sinead O'Connor's life. I saw passion, anger, and then respect, I think.
Okay. I was going to say your death, but no, I don't know. It's just like
no.
the tear that forms. That's good.
She said, and I'm really proud of this bit because she knew my name. She said, "Well, Dominic, that's a very good question." Wow, Dominic, she knows my name. She's obviously warned about me. And she said, the thing is, Sean is a very dear friend of mine, and he was dying from heroin, and we had to intervene. We had to get him help, and the only way to do that was to get him taken into custody by the police and bring him round to tell him what was wrong. And I went, absolutely right, Sinead. Yeah, absolutely right. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah. because I suddenly realized how far down the line I'd gone.
But she answered you, which is nice because she did answer as opposed to like mind your own fucking business. There, Don.
She did. She did. And she probably hasn't asked many people and don't actually confront her like that. Why are we talking about this? Why have we got onto this?
Not sure.
I can't remember, but it's interesting.
Yep. It's the After Dram.
We were talking about was it more important to have the special drink or the friends? That was 20 minutes ago, though. So I'm not sure anymore. That's good.
It doesn't matter.
The music.
We're all on the same page.
No, we talked about Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
That's the bottom line. The bottom line is that I have lots of rock references and stuff, but I just felt that the conversation that we were having, the ability to produce the best whiskey, but it could be very average, is, that's where we got to. We got to the fact that Prince wrote Nothing Compared to You.
Yes. Yeah. So, and they both did. Good. All right. New question and another quote, but this is a gigantic quote, so I'm skipping it. Well, no, I'm skipping a lot of the quote. But you were saying you could bring a $25 bottle to New York, London, Paris, and put an astronomical price tag on it. And as long as you have a story behind this, people will want to hear that story once more. They'll pay to hear the story. So I love this. I love putting a story to a drink. And many people that I've talked to in the past, and these are authors and these are friends, say that this is just marketing, Dolph. You shouldn't be so taken with marketing. But I believe as people, we look for the human touch, the unique experience, the shared experience. Dom and panel, how weary are you of marketing when you have something like that? You know that it's an expensive drink. Maybe it's at a bar. Maybe we're buying the bottle. And you see the really enticing story on the back, or you have the bartender telling you the enticing story. Do you appreciate the story and buy it? Or do you think you're trying to tell me something, buddy? Stop it. What do you think? So I'm throwing that out there. Do we want to hear the story, or do we think the story is manipulating? Let's put it to that.
Well, can I start?
You might as well.
I always like hearing the story, and I use this piece all the time. Like, this is marketing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I've had guys tell me stories in bars, and then I got to drink, and I thought, oh my God, this doesn't fit the story at all. This is
okay. You've heard the opposite too, though. You've had a great story, and you think, yeah, this is fantastic because of the story. Have you not, Dave?
Well, you know, when the guy says, oh, yeah, I got a whiskey here. Oh, can you tell me about it? Yeah, it's a whiskey. Well, that story's not that good.
Yeah.
And I tend not to buy that.
Okay.
But, yeah, there's got to be something there, like explain things to me. Why would I give you some money if you've got nothing to sell me? Like, if you don't have a story behind it, I'm not gonna give any money out.
So we're going to go to the opposite extent. Shouldn't it just depend on the liquid in the glass in front of you, or Is it the marketing in the story that sells you on it? And I like the story.
I think
People make fun of me.
in a perfect world, we wouldn't listen to all the bullshit that's going on around us. We would judge it by what's given to us, and we make our decisions. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
But
all right.
That's not the way things work.
Nick, Kent, what do you think?
I'm very cautious of marketing stories because we get fed a fair number of them. If it's the rep who's a new rep and there's been 5 other reps before this rep, I tune out. If it's the master distiller, if it's somebody from the distillery who can actually speak from the heart of the whiskey, I'll listen a little bit better.
From the heart, yeah.
I'll listen a little bit more and sort of go, okay, you know what? There's a connection here versus somebody saying, you need to buy this bottle, you need to buy this bottle, you need to buy this bottle.
All right. Good answer. Kent, how about you?
Certain stories I fall in love with. Springbank's prime example for that one. Aging owner, he basically employs the town, and he's willed the whole industry to the town when he goes away. He's got no heirs. That's a cool story. I also really love the juice in the bottle. So they marry quite well. Other ones like McAllen's story. Do they have a story anymore? Right? I don't buy into that anymore because they're just a conglomerate.
So I think I look at the expertise on the panel, and I don't think you're going to buy the story. You're going to want to taste the liquor. I think we know too much.
Yeah.
And stories are only going to go so far.
You give me a lot of credit, Dave. You know what? I get influenced by a really good story. I do. And I'm a teacher, and I like creating the story. And what I do is my presentation, and people, they buy into what I show them. And you can tell when they buy in, and if you don't, you change the story till they buy in. So I like that feeling, and I like connecting to people, and I like people wanting to connect to me. And that's the thing. I want them to make the effort to connect to me in whatever situation so that I want to buy your whiskey. And I'm happy with it. I would be happiest going to a bar and listening to the bartender, whoever she or he may be, pouring something for me and giving me the background information. I would pay extra for someone who does that. But let's throw this to Dawn. Dom, you're in the position where you're actually creating the story. I think you're in a place where you're presenting yourself as someone who's promoting a product. How much does the story go into your presentation of the liquid in front of you?
I think the first thing I'd say is that the audience is far too intelligent now to just buy into, people ask questions. I think it started with what I was doing with World Whiskey. I'm not being arrogant because it wasn't me. It was the Australians would say, well, how do you know that it's matured for 12 years? They say it's 12 years matured. How do you know?
Question.
They would say, why is that whiskey that good? We're doing something different with different grains, with different woods, with different peating methods. Yeah. Why is that the only way you can do it, the Scottish way? And I think that's really grown. I think what's happened over the years is that the consumer is far more knowledgeable. They've got so many outlets, whether it be magazines or online chats like this, or blogs, or independent website people. I think that you can't just assume. You can't just say something and people believe in it. And so we're living in really interesting times. And I think that people see through marketing. I think they do. I don't think people are fooled anymore by basic marketing. None of you youth people in front of me now are going to be sold a whiskey by a marketing person. But I don't think you're alone. I think there's hundreds of thousands of people worldwide are the same way. and that's great. And we're questioning it, and we're also having these sort of conversations. We're getting people on who have been involved in the industry in some way and are raising questions about statements that are made. And when they do, their arguments fall down. So I think you're also seeing a lot more honesty from producers because they can't get away with it anymore.
So do you think the honesty comes from the smaller producers, or is it everybody in the industry? Because I kind of don't trust the big guys.
Whoa.
Is Macallan just as trustworthy as Edredor, who is
Edredor? Oh, okay. I don't want to talk about Edredor.
okay? Anybody that's itty bitty. So let's go Macallan compared to Cotswolds.
No,
they're
not. I've got to be really careful what I say here, but if you go back to my first The World's Best Whiskies book, the first conversation or the first email, when that book appeared, the first time I was at, I wish I could remember where I was because I pronounced the name wrong. And I was on the phone and I mentioned the name of where I was. Yeah. And my wife was standing by the ticket guy, and I got the name wrong. And he goes, "It's called something, you wanker." And my wife insulted me, but he didn't know he was insulting me. Because anyway, it doesn't matter. It was somewhere. It was a castle, Weems, somewhere like that. Anyway, we were at a castle in Scotland, and the first time I got a phone call about that book, it was Macallan complaining. It's amazing you mentioned Macallan, because Macallan complaining about what I'd written about them. Which is always the way. You write a book, you spend hours and hours, months and months and months writing a book, doing everything good for the industry, and the only people you hear from are people who are complaining. But anyway, the complaint was that I had implied that some of Macallan's old stock, the old whiskies, were actually fakes.
Ooh, okay.
It's in the public domain. It's nothing I'm telling you now you don't know. But bottom line is, Macallan spent the last 10 years losing a lot of credibility.
Yes.
And
after their non-age statement with
all of that. Having told everybody that colour didn't matter, that age was down to nothing to do with colour. And bourbon cask, sherry cask, age, how many refills. Suddenly, they came up with a brand of colours. So,
Ruby, Sienna, Gold.
The stripper series.
Sorry?
The stripper series.
Well, it is. Gold, Sienna, Ruby, they were stripper names is what he's referring to.
There's another one. Gold.
Sienna.
Ruby. Amber.
Sorry, Amber.
They are prostitutes' names. They are. But that whole story was just rubbish. I mean, I'd worked at the whiskey shop for 2 days a week to relieve the manager, which I used as a tasting base. That's how I started doing all what I'm doing, and those 4 whiskies were sold on non-age statements, colour. And they spent generations telling everybody that Macallan 18 was the best whiskey in the world. And then before that, they replaced their traditional sherrywood whiskies with a fine Macallan range, which is all bourbon cask. So,
don't you have to make up?
So do you want me to trust that more than Daniel Zoll at Cotswolds, who I can ring up now this minute, get him online with you, who's somebody who's absolutely transparent, and he's sailing a small sailing ship in between all these tankers and saying, that's where the fish are, Let's sell that way. And the tanker's going in the wrong direction. So I'm a big critic of big company. And that's all I've ever done. Whiskey Awards, pretty much my whole career is about in whiskey, has been about championing the small guys. And I'm just about to launch a new Whiskey Awards to replace the Wizards Awards.
Yep.
You got it here first, and there will be no entry fee at all.
Nice.
So any distillery in Canada or anywhere in the world wants to send us a sample 10 centiliters, that's all they have to do. I'll review it on my website, my Facebook pages. I'll do all that, but they'll go forward to my awards, which they won't pay for. And if they're the best things I'm tasting, they will become Dom Roskrow's new Wizards Awards, the NWAs. That's what they are. And I'm really excited about it because there's no cost to anybody. And I'm doing it purely for the love of promoting new world whiskies. And I'm delighted that Canada's got so many. Anyway, back to the point. Those big guys have become pretty much irrelevant to me personally.
Yeah. So you agree with Dave, although I do want to know what your wife says about you not charging anybody for the Whiskey Awards. I'm wondering if your better half is saying, couldn't you charge just a little bit? Just
entry fees. Yeah.
Just $100. Just $100. That's not a lot of money, and it might pay for our mortgage for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Oh God, blimey!
No, I'm not putting you on the spot, Dom. We're done.
Dolph, you should be a bloody journalist.
Yeah, I'm an
You're
ass.
scary,
I know
man.
I'm an ass. I'm trying to be like this guy behind me.
Hey!
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? No, I don't want to do this because Whiskey Ass below me even got a picture of the bar, because one of our questions was, if you were going to go to a Japanese whiskey bar, which whiskey bar would you go to? I'm just going to do one. I just want to do Kent's. I want Kent to tell me what his whiskey bar is, so we could throw this picture on, and then we'll sign off, and then we'll talk in the After Dram. Go ahead, Kent. It's all you, man.
Let me share that up for you, Dolph.
I'm going to click it right on there. There we go.
So this is Bar Ben Fiddick. And I mean, obviously he's kind of ran on, a whiskey name. I love this bar because it's so Jekyll and Hyde. And he talks about how he's got all these different flavors and stuff. This article is written by Time Out. And I don't know who they are or anything, but they said they walked in and they got a bag of dried Simbury root, which is kind of a bitter herb. And I'm like, this is what he's making cocktails out of. I'm sure this picture is staged, but there's a lot of pictures of this bar and they all kind of generally have this feel. We're booking a trip to go and check this bar out because it's just so cool.
Cool.
Oh, it is beautiful. Like if you look at it, that's beautiful. And you know what? He looks good in that suit. I love the tie. I love the setup. I think it's perfect. I think there's nothing better than that, really. But and mine, I was talking about the red light district, and it was busy by Tokyo standards. I'm done. I'm not going to say mine. It doesn't matter. I wanted to end with yours. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic afternoon. Thank you to you, the listeners. Thanks to the panel, everyone around me. Dave, Kent, Nicholas. Not Nicholas. Well, he was on the side. I wanted to thank you.
He was on the side. Cheryl was on the side.
And Cheryl, with all the comments there. It's been an absolute pleasure spending this time with you all. And special thanks to Dom. Really, Dom, thank you very much. It's been 3 weeks of it was absolute pleasure. We had fun. We learned stuff. You opened up. You told us your intimate thoughts about things. I thought it was fantastic. Before I do my last goodbye, I just want to give you the last second if you want to have a last couple words before I sign us off completely. It's all you, Dom.
I just want to say thank you to you guys. This has been as good an experience as I've ever had. It's obviously quite late now, and planning to do something later in the evening on a Saturday has been easy, but You've been so good. All I'd say is I reiterate that if you want me back for any reason, I'm available. I'd love the opportunity to tell you about my new awards when I've finalized them, finished them. But I just want to say I'm so proud. I've got really good family in Vancouver. My closest cousin, I say closest. It's hard to be close when you haven't seen each other for years and years and years. But I have a great family in Vancouver. I have lots of respect and adoration for Canada, and you've not let me down, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Beautiful. And if you ever make it out here, Western Canada, I'm there for you. We'll have fun.
We'll take care of
Where
it.
you want to go, I'll bring you anywhere in Western Canada. I'm here for you.
That was
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, here we go. Here's the good company. Everyone around me. Here's the good whiskey. This one right here. Here's the good books, which is this book right here. There's the book. Here's the good books.
The good book.
And here's the good conversation. And here's to seeing you all in 2 weeks. Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, for our 10th book. This is our 10th book right here. And first edition of Whiskey Island, a portrait of Isla and its whiskeys. The author, Andrew Jefford. As a final note, if you don't want to miss, like, subscribe. Everything's great. I just want my last second. I want to be a thank you very much, Dom. It's been fantastic 3 weeks. Thank you. And
yes, thank you.
Hopefully you have another book or a second edition or third edition of this one, and we'll talk again. Cheers, everybody.